What's up, you guys? I'm Dan, this is Frugal Not Cheap, and today we'll talk about a simple reason why many people don't achieve their financial goals and how to set ourselves up for success. So I recently had an opportunity to work with a couple on their finances. This is something I like to do pro bono on the side just for fun. It's really great when we can come up with a good plan for people and when I get to watch them follow through. So we were talking about knocking out their credit card debt so that then they could turn their attention towards their savings and investment goals. At some point, one of them said something like, "And then I'll use whatever's left over at the end of the month." And this got me thinking, this is exactly why a lot of people who could otherwise be making progress towards their goals don't. Alright, so obviously, just to sort of caveat, first off, if your income and your expenses are completely out of line, meaning income's way less than the expenses, then obviously something really drastic needs to change. And I'd encourage you to check out my How to Make a Budget and How to Track Your Spending videos on some ideas on how to get a handle on things and identify opportunities. We can work both on increasing income, which is like playing good offense, and we can also work on reducing our expenses, which is playing good defense. Now that being said, for many people, where expenses and their income are relatively in line, but they just don't ever seem to make any progress towards their goals. And I find that the major problem is that they do exactly what my friend had said that they would do, is they would take whatever's left over at the end of the month and apply that towards their goals, but there was never anything left over at the end of the month. Because they don't make it a priority, it never gets done. So, what's the cure? And this is obvious, but frankly, a lot of personal finance is pretty obvious. But I really think it's helpful to hear it, and it gives us an opportunity to step back and implement what we already know. We need to make our goals top priority. So, instead of using whatever's left over at the end of the month, we'll set an amount that we know is achievable and make sure to take care of that first. And then plan everything else around that one goal. For my friend, that means taking a look at her budget, determining a realistic amount that she can put towards her credit cards, and then cutting discretionary spending so that she's able to meet that goal every month. Of course, the more you're willing to adjust, in other words, to cut the fat out of your spending, the faster progress you'll make. So ask yourself, how bad do I want to achieve my goals? Of course, I should caution against overdoing it. If we set unrealistic goals that we could never achieve, then it will backfire. So if we set a budget of complete deprivation where there's no entertainment whatsoever and we're eating rice and beans every day, eventually it's going to drive us nuts and we're going to lash out in some way. We might overspend, or we might just get fatigued and completely give up quite quickly. This is kind of similar to a diet where you see people kind of yo-yo diet. I mean, there's a lot of parallels between our income and expenses and also our diet. Because really, if we want to lose weight, what we'll do is that we'll cut our caloric intake, right? How much is coming in. And then we'll increase our caloric expenditure, how much we're burning. And together with those, we can create a deficit and then we can start losing weight. So it's kind of the same thing. You don't want to go crazy and try to lose too much too quickly. You'll just end up getting starved and frustrated and quit, and you have these kind of yo-yo events. Much better to go kind of slow and steady and do it, of course, in a healthy and sustainable way. And I think it's kind of the same thing with the budget, although, there's a lot of fat we can cut if we're honest with ourselves, but we don't want to get rid of every little thing that brings us joy or that we really value. We want to be really kind of judicious about that and not go too crazy, but at the same time really take a hard look. So this principle that we're talking about here, which is really about prioritizing your goals and making sure that those are going to get done first before determining the rest, it's a little bit similar to a principle that you might hear in personal finance, which is called paying yourself first. So this is something that I do. The idea is basically that I will pay myself. In other words, I'm going to do all of my savings and investing first, and then I'm going to take care of things after that. So as soon as my paycheck hits, I already have automatic withdrawals set up from my checking account to go into my different investment accounts, and then also into a savings account if I'm doing that at the time. So it's a similar idea, but I think actually we can apply this idea of prioritizing our goals beyond just personal finance. right in. For instance, at work, there's only a certain amount of hours that I can really be working, in an effective way. And even within those hours, there are only a certain amount of hours where I'm really at sort of my peak productivity, where my mind is really sharp and the creative juices are flowing and that kind of a thing. And so that means that I need to be judicious with how I plan my day. And so what I'll do is I'll take the most challenging tasks, the ones that take really the most analytics, or the really just maybe are the scariest for me because of the consequences of failure or success. And I'll take care of those first, because once I've taken care of those, I've taken care of the most important thing for my day, or the most difficult thing for my day, and then it's smooth sailing after that. And at the same time, not only will I get that done first, but I'm really planning my day around getting those things done, if that makes sense. I used to be kind of a really big procrastinator, and really what it came down to was fear of failure. So I would put off, the really scary items, the most challenging ones, until the last minute. And because I've adopted this new strategy of tackling those scary and difficult things first, then I've become quite the opposite of a procrastinator. And I can tell you it's much less stressful living this way. And we can also use this principle of making sure that we achieve our priorities first in all kinds of other ways. Say planning a vacation, right? You might have some top things that you really want to hit before you leave. And then you might want to be a little bit more relaxed about the rest of your itinerary, so you're not rushing from one place to the next and not really appreciating anything. We could even apply that to, planning out a weekend, right? I'm kind of an introvert, so social, really extroverted times are draining for me. And so I don't want to be doing that all day, but I want to kind of work my way around, plan my weekend around having those things, but also having some downtime with myself, and then maybe also prioritizing other projects and that kind of thing. So I think this is really quite a useful principle. But of course, the main motivation for today's video is if you've been kind of putting these financial goals that you have and just kind of hoping that at the end of the month you've got some money left over to take care of them, well, hopefully this video will prompt you to take a step back and say, hey, let's make these goals a priority, let's make them happen, and come up with a realistic plan to do that. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.